Hi, this is Martha Reeves of Martha and the Vandellas, and you're watching BMA Backstage. I was singing as Martha Lavelle after my group, the Delphis, had broken up, and William Stevenson, A&R director of Hitsville, USA, a new company that everybody was raving about, Berry Gordy Jr., turned this house into a studio. And I was singing at a place called the 20 Grand because I'd won a contest. And I was using the name Martha Lavelle because that's the name my Aunt Bernice gave me when she pierced my ears. She sort of prophesied that I'd be famous. At the age of 11, she did one hole in my ear and I had to go to the bathroom. So she said, you're gonna be famous. Name yourself Martha Lavelle. She even spelled it for me, L-A-V-A-I-L-L-E. And she passed away and never got to see that her prophesying paid off because Mom was my biggest encouragement. In fact, when I'm on stage singing, I can hear her saying, "Sing it, baby," from the audience, because whenever she could, she'd come and watch us perform. I was singing at the 20 Grand, and William Stevenson gave me a card and said, "Come to Hitsville, USA, you have talent." I thought he was going to hit on me because he was so handsome. I thought he was my Prince Charming. So I quit my job at the dry cleaners and went there the next morning. And upon arrival, the same gentleman that had given me the card was in the same suit. He had rolled up his sleeves and taken his tie loose, had his jacket off, and he was writing a song for this drummer named Marvin Gaye. So he asked me what was I doing there? I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Don't you remember giving me that card and asking me to come to this company?" I started to turn around when I saw it was a house with a hand-painted sign. But Dad said, "Look for the 2400 block address, get off the bus and go in." So I had to think twice. I went inside, and when I saw him, after being buzzed through a little door, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Don't you remember giving me a card telling me to come here?" He said, "Yeah, you're supposed to call for an appointment. We have auditions every third Thursday. Answer this phone. I'll be right back." Because this little phone with 4 lines on it was just ringing off the hook. People were lined out on the front trying to get into Hitsville, USA. Well, I thought I was privileged because I got buzzed in the door, and I sat there for about 3 hours waiting on him to come back. I answered the phone, I answered the door. There were 17 writers, all in this one little cubbyhole of an office. And they were asking me who I was. I was saying, "Well, Mr. Stevenson said, you mean Mickey?" I said, "Yeah." He said he'd be right back. And Freddie Gorman even came in, got rest his soul, we just lost him. He wrote Mr. Postman. He was one of the originals that sang "I Hear the Bell," Marvin Gaye produced. I got a chance to meet Gladys Thornton of the Marvelettes that day. I mean, a lot of things happened in those 3 hours. I met Benny Benjamin, the famous drummer of Motown, and James Jamerson. They came in very adamant about their money for the $5 session they had cut the day before. They wanted their M&F money, you hear me? And the way they were talking, I got a little scared, so I called a lady in the sales department who asked me immediately, "Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Martha Reeves, I'm in the A&R department. These gentlemen have a situation, they want their money. And they're sort of angry." And she said, "Well, we don't pay anybody until the end of the week." And they were still standing there cursing and mumbling, so I gave the phone directly to her. In about 2 or 3 sentences of their profanity and their demand for their pay, she said, "Put the A&R secretary back on the phone." So that officiated me. And I was there 9 months before I actually left that job to 2 girls from Secretariat College. Got on a broken down trailway without a toilet and rode on the first Motown review, 94 one-nighters. And we stayed in one hotel, it was a Holiday Inn. We rode that bus from city to city. We were in the South, we got shot at. We were denied entrance into a lot of the restaurants. We learned how to go in the bush when they ran us off from that gas station with that shotgun. I saw my first double-barrel shotgun in my face, trying to get off the bus to use the facilities. And the man said, "Oh no, you're not using this restroom. Y'all get back on that bus and ride out of here." As the state troopers sped into the area and made dust, coming to arrest us for coming there to try to use this restroom, that kind of thing. but a wonderful musical trip, because whenever we got to wherever we were going, the audiences just loved us.
And it's tearing apart your home, because of these memories, I never think of anybody but you, baby. So come on and get me, 'cause I found me somebody new. Come and get these memories, love, since you know I'm not lying. So my mind and my heart can be these, baby. Come and get them. Here's what you do, darling. Now give them to you, love. Did you hear what I said? Give them to you, love. So come on and get your memories, love.
When I turn on the radio, if it's synthesized music, if it's techno music, I can't listen to it. I wouldn't dare try to record with it. However, I made a statement that it was noisy toys that is dominating the industry right now. You can take one guy with a good Kurzweil, and he can sit there, he can play the drums and the piano and all that, but musicians taught me to sing. Listening to Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald, who was the first female big band leader when her husband passed away. I've studied the history, and people like Billie Holiday, who musicians embraced to the point where she could be stoned out of her mind because of her lifestyle and what she chose to be, but they would embrace her, and she would come up with songs that make you just, your heart just bleed, and goosebumps, and all kinds of wonderful things happen to you when you hear the ladies I mentioned. I tried to emulate Dinah Washington for a while. She was superb as a musician as well as a singer. My soul sister, Aretha Franklin, I saw her when she was 8 years old singing in her grandfather's church. So I know how important vocals are. And a lot of the youngsters today are having their voices manipulated. The people are missing the relationship between these guys who sat down and studied their instrument and appreciated and respected the singers enough to let them be heard like the Motown band did. All those guys were jazz musicians with learned degrees, and all of them could arrange. The producers were singers. That was the magic, some of the Motown sound, how it was made. Those singers came in there and got with some learned professional musicians. The musicians were the backbone of the sound. So how can you exclude them? How can you say you're making music when there's not some professional professor sitting there showing you this is an A and this is a G, and this is how the chord progresses, this is a ninth on a chord. I mean, those are important things for a singer to know, especially as you mature in the business and you get a larger audience and you want to advance in your field. I was trained opera in high school, and I'm a public school student. And I think it's important that you should learn music. You should know how to read it and learn how to write it and learn where it started. Music has been important all of the history of the world. So how can you make music now? Maybe my sessions, I'm still using musicians, might cost me a good 10 grand, where today they can make a hit record in an hour and a half with one musician playing on a synthesizer. Doesn't have any feeling in it, doesn't give you any love, it just gives you tones. And you can go to a concert and the music's so loud until all you hear or feel is the thumping. And if you had a pacemaker, it probably could stop your heart. People are going to be deaf this generation, and they're not hearing tones, they're hearing sounds. Sounds, if you put somebody in a room and turn it up real loud, you could run them absolutely crazy.
I can't hear you. Oh, Jimmy, now he calls me on how many times, y'all? About 3 times. That's nobody. Now my heart is listen to what he has to say, but this loneliness I have within keeps reaching
Hi, this is Martha Reeves of Martha and the Vandellas, and you're watching BMA Backstage.